In the 1920s, high up in the Big Laurel Creek area of Cumberland Mountain in Tennessee, there was a rule that everybody knew but nobody dared speak out loud. You could survive the winter, you could survive the hunger, but you would never survive a smear upon a good woman's name. Now, Ruthie Caldwell was a proper woman who thought her whispers was harmless. She called Evelyn Matthews a witch just because Evelyn knew the secrets of herbs and poultices. Ruthie thought it was just a joke until the air in her kitchen turned cold and the mountain itself began to listen. She's about to learn that some spells don't come with a warning. They work from the inside until your very life turns against you. Tonight, we're uncovering the dark account of the medicine woman of Big Laurel and the terrible price of a mountain curse.
Nobody dared call her a witch, not even out of earshot. She had a way of hearing things that wasn't meant to reach her. Folks just knowed better than to test it. Some claimed the mountain itself could talk if you was savvy, and the old woman knowed how to listen. On that mountain, there wasn't no such thing as speaking out of her hearing. It always found her. She'd lived alone in that cabin longer than anybody could rightly say. Sat back in the trees where light come thin and late, roof sagging just enough to show it had weathered more winters than most people. Smoke rose when it needed to, not regular, not inviting. Sometimes there was a knocking from inside, slow and steady, the kind you feel in the floor before you hear it. Place looked less built than settled, like it had growed there, decided to stay. People passed it quiet, didn't linger, didn't knock. Of course they believed she was a witch. Folks always give a name to what they don't understand, but they didn't say it. Not about her, not that one. Truth was, most of them couldn't say much else about her either. Not how old she was, not where she come from, not even what to call her, if it come to that. And that's when the talk started, about years that didn't line up, names that wouldn't stay put. Folks down the mountain argued over years and names and church records. The old woman never did. Nobody on the mountain knowed the old woman's age. Most couldn't even say for sure how long she'd been there. Longer than memory seemed like. Longer than folks kept track of such things. She didn't mark time the way other people did. Years come and went, and she let 'em. Far as her name, that was worse. She'd been called things before. She was near certain of that. But they wore thin and slipped away, same as faces and seasons. Some days she thought it might have been Elma. Other days, Delma sounded closer. Every now and then, a different name would stir up from way back, one that felt truer than the rest, but it never stayed long enough to hold. And she didn't worry over it much. Names was for folks who expected to be remembered. Whatever she'd been called, years had took not just her youth, but most everything tied to it. What stayed, though, was the knowing, the feel of the mountain under her feet, the old rules that hadn't changed just because people had, and that was enough. She didn't speak the spell out loud at first. In the back room of her cabin, where the air stayed damp and cold, no matter how much wood you fed the stove, she laid the things out slow and careful. Her hands didn't shake. They never did. While she was gathering what she needed, her mind drifted, not on purpose. It just done that sometimes when her hands was busy. She thought back to the day the Wilson boys brought J.D. Baylor up to her place. He had a bone sticking clean through his left leg. Now he done climbed a tree trying to shake a coon loose, and the limb give way under him. He fell hard, rolled near about 100 feet down a gully before stopping against a rock big as a stove. That leg took the worst of it. Now them boys done what they could. They splintered him up the best they knowed how. Then they laid him on a travois made out of the coats and 2 pine saplings tied to his horse. Brought him on up to her. It took all 3 of them, but her and the boys finally got J.D. in the house and laid him up on the kitchen table. She got him settled, poured from the jug she kept under the kitchen counter till he quit hollering. The world went soft around the edges. Then she set the bone back where it belonged, steady and sure. She packed a hole in his leg with a poultice of garlic, thyme, and rosemary. Little oregano and cumin mixed with honey to keep the rot out. When she was done, he could travel. Hurt, but travel. Wilson boys asked what they owed. She told them, "One of them bottles you keep out in your saddlebags and we'll call it square." Then she added like it was nothing at all, "My jug's getting light. Won't be long before I need it again." Well, that memory passed and her hands kept on with their work. A lock of hair caught in brush somebody had forgot at a quilting was wrapped tight around a bent nail pulled from an old coffin board the church had quit claiming years back. She crushed pokeberry and dried foxglove with a smooth river stone till it turned dark and slick. As she worked, she said the woman's name under her breath, not calling it, not asking for it, just saying it so the work would know where to go. The words she used wasn't loud. They didn't need to be. They was old words passed mouth to mouth by folks who learned early not to say 'em twice. They wasn't meant to bring storms of fire down out of the sky. They were meant for work from the inside, quiet and steady, till a life started turning against itself. When she was done, she fed the whole mess to the fire, not to burn it off, but to wake it up. The smoke sunk low instead of rising, crawling along the floor like it knew it belonged there. In that smoke, she set the work plain. The woman wouldn't die quick, might not die at all. There'd be no mercy in that. Things would spoil on her first. Milk would turn, bread wouldn't rise. Sleep would come hard and leave worse. Dreams would start showing their teeth, sounding like voices she knowed, calling from just past the trees. Her body would follow soon after, piece by piece, doing what the spirit told it. And she didn't hate Ruthie. Hate makes noise. This was something else. This was setting the thing back where it belonged. When the work was set, the old woman didn't wait around to see it start. She never did. Things like that knowed their way well enough. And down the mountain, life went on like it always had. Ruthie Caldwell spoke, folks listened. Doors opened and closed. Bread got baked, milk got poured. There wasn't no sign yet, not then. But something had already been turned loose, and it was heading where it had been told to go. Ruthie didn't come at Evelyn Matthews all at once. Nah, that would have showed her hand. Now, she started small, the way folks always do when they mean to do something ugly and still sleep at night. A word here, a look there, a pause before answering a question, like she was weighing whether it was safe to speak. Best be careful, she'd say, or I ain't saying nothing, I'm just asking. And folks listened. They always did. It wasn't long before concern turned into caution, and caution turned into distance. People stopped knocking on Evelyn's door unless they had to. Mothers pulled their children a little closer when she passed. Men who had once tipped their hats kept their eyes forward instead. Nobody accused her outright. Now that come later. But everybody knowed something about her was off. Ruthie made sure of that. She had a gift for making a thing feel true long before it ever got said plain. And Evelyn didn't fight it. She never raised her voice or defended herself. She just kept doing what she'd always done, tending her garden, drying her herbs, offering help where she could. And that only made it worse. You see, quiet looks like guilt to folks who've already made up their minds, and Ruthie used that. She talked about danger, about protecting the community, about keeping bad influences from taking root. And before long, Evelyn Matthews wasn't just strange, she was a problem that needed tending. All the while the old woman on Big Laurel watched. She didn't step in, didn't warn, didn't show herself. She's seen this kind of thing before, long before Ruthie Caldwell ever learned how to fold her hands in church. She knowed better than to move too soon. Folks like Ruthie don't stop till they think they won, and the old woman meant to let her finish digging her hole proper. So she waited, and while the talk grew louder down the mountain, she went about her work quiet as breath, clearing space where space was needed, gathering what the old ways required. This wasn't done for justice, the kind folks argue about. It was done to stop a harm already in motion. By the time Ruthie finally felt safe enough to speak the word out loud, the old woman was ready. Ruthie Caldwell never did know when a thing crossed from talk into something else. She wasn't seen as a bad woman. Most folks would have told you she was decent enough. She kept her apron clean, kept her hair pinned tight, went to church every Sunday and sat where she was supposed to. She nodded when the preacher talked about sin and sung just loud enough to be heard. People trusted Ruthie because she was proper, because she knowed everybody's business and carried it careful, like it wasn't hers, but she'll hold on to it anyway. She had a way of lowering her voice before saying something she knowed better to say, like whispering made it all right. And this comment come easy. Somebody mentioned how Evelyn Matthews' herb teas had helped a sick child. And Ruthie gave a little laugh, nervous, near harmless, and said, well, you know how that looks. All them herbs and quiet ways, folks used to call that witching. Now, she didn't mean nothing by it. That's what she told herself later. Just words, just something the old folks used to say. Truth was, Ruthie had lived her whole life thinking that if she didn't say a thing outright, it didn't count. And that if something made her uneasy, then it must be wrong. That she didn't hate Evelyn Matthews. She just didn't like what she didn't understand. No, what Ruthie felt was smaller than that. She just didn't like a woman who didn't ask permission, didn't need church blessing, and didn't wait to be told it was all right to help somebody. When Ruthie used the word, there wasn't no poison in it to her way of thinking, and that was the trouble. She never learned that some words don't need meanness behind them to do their work. She's about to learn, though. Some lessons don't come with warning, and they don't ask whether you meant harm or not. So now Ruthie is having a bad week. The milk turned 2 days before it should have. The bread she made the same way for years come out flat and heavy. Sleep quit doing her much good. Come late, left early. And when it did come, it brought dreams that felt crowded, like somebody standing just out of sight, saying her name without using her mouth. After a while, Ruthie noticed things lined up too neat to be chance. The dreams come on nights she talked too much. The spoilings showed up after she spoke somebody's name longer than she should have. And every time she tried to pray it off, the house went quiet in a way that felt listening. And that's when the fear stopped being loud. That's when it turned sharp. Laying there in the dark, Ruthie started thinking back on things she'd said that week. Not the mean ones. Well, she could have named them easy enough. But the small ones, the offhand ones, the kind you don't remember saying till they come back on you. And one of them kept sitting heavier than the rest. She could see the kitchen clear as day, the table, the cup sat down too hard, the way she laughed like it didn't matter. She couldn't bring the word itself to mind, not yet, but the shape of it, the feel of it leaving her mouth, light when she said it, lighter than it had any right to be. Whatever it was, it didn't hurry. The trouble didn't rush her. It settled in. First came the blisters. They rose along her skin like heat had found a way to stay. Raw and tight and burning, so sore she couldn't sit without crying out, couldn't lay down without feeling like she was pressing herself into cold. She spent 2 nights standing by the bed, leaning forward with her hands braced, too tired to stay up and too hurt to lay down. Then, just as sudden as they'd come, the blisters dried and faded. Ruthie told herself she'd turned a corner. Yeah, folks always do. And that's when the headache started. Deep ones. The kind that sit around behind your eyes and won't move, no matter how much water you drink or how quiet you keep the house. Nausea followed close behind. She'd wake up sick and go to bed the same way, carrying it with her through the day like weight she couldn't set down. That went on a full week. long enough for hope to wear thin and stop helping. After that, the pain moved into her joints. Not aches, not stiffness, but sharp, driving pain, like nails being set one by one into her knuckles, her knees, her hips. She couldn't grip nothing without crying, couldn't walk without thinking about every step before she took it. Then her hair started coming out. Not all at once, just enough to notice, enough to find it on the pillow, on her hands, caught in a comb like it didn't belong to her no more. Her teeth followed, one loose, then another, painful, slow, and sure. She leaned over the wash basin, shaking so bad she near missed it. Blood come up sudden and hot, just about squirting out of her mouth. A tooth hit the porcelain. Sharp little click, then another. Teeth falling into the basin like hail on a tin roof. She stared down at him, breathing hard, her hands gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Is this it, she wondered? Am I going to die here tonight like this? The thought didn't scare her the way it should have. It almost felt like relief. She closed her eyes and wished for something quick. A bolt out of the sky, a crack of light and thunder that'd take her where she stood. Anything that would come all at once and be done with. But the night stayed quiet. No thunder, no fire. Just her breath, ragged and hurting, and the slow, steady knowing settling that this wasn't how it ended. And that's when the memory come back clear. The word come back to her on its own. Not sudden, not loud. It just showed up, same as it had that day, easy and light, and settled where it pleased. Witch. Ruthie lay there with it sitting in her chest, knowing now it hadn't been a joke or a figure of speech or something folks used to say back when they didn't know better. It was a real thing, a name meant for real work, and she laid it on another woman like it didn't weigh nothing at all. And it didn't come from Evelyn Matthews. Evelyn had never asked for harm, never laid a hand on anybody but to help. She hadn't spoke a word back, hadn't wished nothing bad on Ruthie Caldwell at all. No, this didn't come from Evelyn Matthews. It come from putting a bad name on a good woman and thinking it don't matter none. But Evelyn didn't know Ruthie had ever called her that. And that was the start of Ruthie Caldwell's end. Not sudden, not all at once. It started in her arms. First, heaviness, then a swelling that wouldn't go down no matter what she tried. Her sleeves stayed damp like she'd been working hard in the cold, though she hadn't done nothing at all. After a while, her skin wouldn't hold the way it used to. It pulled and burned, and when it failed, the pain went deeper than any hurt she'd known before. Then it moved into her legs, same pattern, same patience. Walking turned slow, standing turned costly. She learned quick there was no part of her that was safe from it. From there, the trouble spread the way water does, finding every weak place, working its way through her piece by piece. And the work wasn't in a hurry neither. It had time. Toward the end, Ruthie just quit fighting it. There come a day when the pain eased off just enough to make room for something worse. Weakness, the kind that settles in and don't move. She growed thin, smaller than she ever been. Folks said she looked like she'd already halfway gone, and most days she felt that way too. Breath come shallow. Food didn't taste like much. Nights stretched on longer than they should. And she asked to be done. Didn't scream it, didn't bargain, just said it quiet, like she was asking for rest. But the end didn't come. It never did. You see, Ruthie didn't die. She stayed on. What was left of her dried down to something narrow and sharp, like the years been pulled too tight around her. Her skin clung where it used to rest. Her eyes set back so far they looked like they was watching from someplace else. Folks who hadn't seen her in a while took a second look and then looked away, not sure what they had just passed. She still breathed, still moved, but not the way people do. More like a thing that remembered how. There wasn't much left to recognize. The Ruthie Caldwell folks had known, the tidy woman, the busy tongue, the certainty, had all been taken out of her. What stayed behind was a shape that held itself together out of habit more than will. She didn't speak much after that. When she did, it come slow and careful, like every word had to be weighed before it was let loose. And she never laid another name on another soul again. And folks noticed. They couldn't help it. They'd seen what careless words could leave behind. After that, talk on the mountain turned quieter. Meaning stayed inside longer. Ruthie lived on thin as a warning and twice as hard to look at. Evelyn Matthews went on just like she always had. And everybody understood. Well, that's all I got for tonight, folks. I sure do appreciate you stopping by the porch and spending a little time with me. And if you enjoyed the story, I'd be mighty grateful if you'd give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with somebody who still enjoys a good tale now and then. If you got a story of your own, or maybe a mountain legend passed down through your family, I would love to hear about it down in the comments. So until next time, pull you up a chair, set a spell, and we'll see what other stories these old mountains still remember. This is Zebediah Hawks from Papa Porch. Good night and God bless.